Hey guys, this is Jay of Jay's Reviews here, and it's finally time for the finale of the Sly Cooper PS2 Marathon. This time we're looking at both the PS2 version of Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves and the HD collections on the PS3, PSN, and PS Vita. This is most likely going to be a very long video, so I'll give the same warning I gave in the Sly 2 review. This entire review is full of spoilers. I don't think I can talk about Sly 2, Sly 3, and 4 without spoilers. So again, if you're looking for more general reviews, I would recommend Ant Dude's review or We Dude 83's reviews. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get started. Sly 2 was a critical and financial success, and again, like I said in the Sly 2 review, opinions on the series are quite diverse. However, I would say it's most common to see people say Sly 2 is their favorite in the series, but again, I've heard people say Sly 1, or Sly 3, or Sly Can't even say that with a straight face. Anyway, the Jak and Daxter and Ratchet & Clank trilogies ended back in 2004, and in 2005 both series had spin-offs Ratchet Deadlock and Jak X Combat Racing. So 2005 was the year Sucker Punch would finish their trilogy of great characters and gameplay. While it does sound strange for a 1-year gap in between games, however, the jump from Sly 2 to 3 is nowhere near as large as the one from Sly 1 to 2, so it is a little okay in my eyes. My first experience with Sly 3 is that it was the last one I played. However, I can tell you that when I was younger, this was the game in the series that I spent the most amount of time on, due to the multiplayer and more meaty single player than the previous games. But if you watched my Sly 2 review, you would know that when the PS3 collection came out, I played all 3 games religiously in preparation for Sly 4, since I hadn't played them in years at that point. That was when Sly 2's attention to detail and story made that game my favorite in the series, and one of the best of all time, and playing Sly 3 again, I felt to be more lackluster for reasons I shall most certainly get into by the end of this review. So, let's start with the story. Firstly, Sly 3 had a prequel comic, which is very important to the story. I know Sly 2 had a prequel comic too, however, that comic really didn't impact the storyline of Sly 2, so anyway, let's talk about this comic. After Sly escapes from Carmelita, his whereabouts are unknown. Bentley is now in the hospital, and Sly and Murray have to press on without Bentley. But Carmelita, upon checking the security footage of Sly and Murray's robbery, it is extremely apparent that they aren't coordinated, setting off traps and dropping vases and all that stuff. Clearly they need Bentley back. But it's also at this point that Murray is beginning to doubt himself and his usefulness to the team. So when Sly and Murray go see Bentley, the cops bust in, and Murray makes Sly and Bentley leave him behind so he can distract the cops. After the getaway, Sly sneaks into prison to meet a man, Jim McSweeney, the muscle from Sly's father's gang. He tells Sly of the Cooper Vault, a place where all the Coopers go to stash their loot. Sly goes back home to tell Bentley and Murray about his discovery, only to see that Bentley has made a wheelchair for himself to help in the field, and when Murray returns home, he tells Sly and Bentley that he can't be in the gang anymore, and quits, blaming himself for what happened to Bentley in Sly 2. Honestly, this prequel comic should have been where the game begins, if I'm honest. It would have been more engaging than the crappy intro that was already there. Speaking of which, when the game actually begins, Sly is seen invading Kane Island, only to get on Binocukon with Bentley, where the gang has apparently expanded its ranks. Sly makes his way to the Cooper Vault, where we are introduced to the game's main villain, Dr. M, a mad scientist who has set up shop on Kane Island and trying to break into the Cooper Vault. Sly almost opens the vault, but Dr. M stops him, and Sly and Bentley escape, but Dr. M is a giant monster he's controlling and captures Bentley. Sly throws his cane at the monster's mouth, and then the monster captures Sly. Fade to white. Basically, Sly 3's main campaign is a flashback, which isn't that big of a deal, but I'm going to say that that's a very weird spot to open a game. I mean, we just got off a very dramatic cliffhanger, so why they've decided to start like this and not just right after Sly 2 is a very confusing thing indeed. I mean, it also really reduces the drama later on in the plot, or should I say, earlier in the plot. And also, I really don't give a shit during this entire opening sequence, because I'm confused the whole time. I mean, in Sly 1, we are told about Sly's origin and why we should care.
It all began when I was just a kid, bouncing on my father's knee. You see, I come from a long line of master thieves who kept all their secrets of sneaking and stealing in an ancient book, the Thievius Raccoonus. Anyone who read it learned to be especially sneaky, which is why we specialized in stealing from criminals. After all, there's no honor, no challenge, no fun stealing from ordinary people. You rip off a master criminal, and you know you're a master thief. Well, on the night I was supposed to inherit the book, 5 visitors came unannounced to our door. My father fought to protect us, but the gang of villains known as the Fiendish Five overpowered him and ransacked our house until they found the Thievius Raccoonus. Our family's manual of thieving greatness fell into their filthy hands. They tore the book into 5 pieces and split it up, each villain disappearing to the farthest corners of the world to commit dastardly crimes. Broken alone, I was dumped at the town orphanage. There I met 2 guys who became my lifelong buddies and trusted crew. Bentley, techno genius and strategist supreme, and Murray, part-time driver and full-time burden. Together we pledged to track down the Fiendish Five, avenge my father, and steal back the Thievius Raccoonus. I knew I was about to face the toughest test of my life. On this mission, I would either become a master thief like my ancestors before me, or fail and allow my family name to bite the dust.
Sly 2 did the same thing.
Is it inappropriate to refer to him as a monster? No, not at all. What kind of person stays alive for hundreds of years with the express intention of wiping out a rival's family line? Imagine the hatred fueling that first decision to replace his mortal body with soulless machinery. Ultimately, it did the trick. Clockwork lived on. He caught up with my parents, and I wound up in an orphanage. It's there that I met my pals, Bentley, the brains of our outfit, and Murray, the brawn. They turned out to be all the family I needed. 2 years ago, I thought I'd finished it. How naive to think I could so easily put an end to that kind of hatred. And now he's back. In pieces, sure, but the threat is real. Does the Claw Gang even realize what they've stolen? I don't know what's in my future, but I won't let it be a repeat of my past.
Sly 3 also shows us why we should care a little bit, but the whole thing just sort of comes out of nowhere. If you play the games in order, why the prequel comic would have made for a much more effective introduction. Anyway, we start out by learning that Murray is studying the Dreamtime and has currently been sent out to stop Don Octavio, a former musician who became out of a job when tastes changed, is now evil and plans to get everyone to like him again. But his plan is to turn all the water to tar, and then threaten everyone to watch him again. And all the while not arousing any suspicion because he's pumping tar via a Ferris wheel. Similar to Dimitri, Don Octavio is the fun villain introduced for the sake of getting you into the game. However, our main goal is to get Murray back on the team. And we start by investigating the police station, only for Sly to discover Dimitri behind the bars. The two then work out a deal for Sly to bust Dimitri out of jail, and Sly will distract the cops in Carmelita. Sly then meets up with Murray, to which he requests that Murray joins the gang again, but Murray claims that he's walking a different path in life, and won't do anything until the tar issue is fixed. That, and he's also made a vow to avoid all violence. So now Sly and Bentley have to help Murray out in this case. They discover that Don Octavio has a detonation switch that will blow up Italian landmarks if people don't watch his show. So once Bentley and Sly ruin the whole thing, Octavio pulls the trigger. It then kicks Bentley out of his wheelchair, to a horrified Sly and Murray. Murray then beats Octavio and the gang escapes. And Murray is back on the team. However, a few months later, Murray wishes to return to his master to formally leave his training. However, upon going back to his master, aka the Guru, in Australia, the three discover that the place has been overrun by miners and the Guru was nowhere to be seen. They then learn that he's being held captive and the gang not only try to rescue him but also want him to help regain the land. But also, he agrees to join the team. Unfortunately for them all, the ringleader of this evil operation is the Mask of Dark Earth, which is by far one of the stupidest villains in the entire series. No backstory, no motivation, nothing. All he does is just run away. It's fucking dumb and stupid and dumb. In all seriousness though, the fact that I don't care about a villain in a Sly Cooper chapter makes the chapter feel very dull, which is why most of the chapters in Sly 3 feel very long, in addition to the fact that they just are that long, which we'll get back to later. Anyway, the Mask absorbs Carmelita and the gang beats the Mask and the Guru joins the team. A few months later, Bentley talks to an RC specialist online named Penelope, and she says that if she were to join the gang, they'd have to beat her boss, the Black Baron, in the upcoming Aces flight competition. Sly meets up with Dimitri at the bar, and Sly the flight roster, because it's kept a secret so that the competing groups won't mess with the opposing side. However, Dimitri requests a favor in return, and that we'll get back to later. So anyway, the gang learns the flight roster and proceeds to screw up Team Iceland and frame Team Belgium, and vice versa, so that those two teams would target each other in the semi-finals, so Sly could take them all out. However, Bugshot from Sly 1 is also in the mix, and the gang gets him busted by Carmelita, so that Sly would have no competition to beat the Black Baron in the finals, to which Sly does engage in a fist fight with the Baron, only to discover that he is in fact Penelope and she joins the gang. The gang is now looking for a skilled fireworks artist, and the best candidate is the Panda King, one of the members of the Fiendish Five that killed Sly's father. Sly believes that the Panda King is completely untrustworthy, however, Bentley continues to push the idea, since the Panda King has taken up a new path in life, and the gang goes up to him, and the Guru bridges Sly and the Panda King's minds, and we relive the boss battle from Sly 1. When the Panda King wakes up, he tells that his daughter Jing King was captured by General Sal, and for him to join the gang, we have to help him rescue her. And General Sal is evil. Now, according to SGB, the Panda King joining the gang is dumb, stupid, and dumb, simply because they don't believe that there is no one else for the job, completely ignoring the fact that the drama comes from Sly and the Panda King's distrust for each other, and that would be a lot more interesting than some random new character. So this chapter just drags on forever. So we've got to do this and that and the other thing. So anyway, we rescue Jing King and the Panda King joins the team. So Dimitri wants to collect his favor from Chapter 3, and what it is to help him recover his grandfather's lost treasure, because it was stolen back by Black Spot Pete, so Sly and the gang try to get it back, only to learn that the map was stolen by a pirate named Lafui, the smartest man on the Seven Seas, and he has the same impact for me as General Sal. However, he's still a bit more of an enjoyable character, so whatever. Anyway, upon digging up the treasure, Lafui captures Penelope, and the gang rescues her through an elaborate plan where Bentley outsmarts Lafui, Penelope defeats Lafui, and Bentley and Penelope fall in love. So then we arrive back where we started, and Carmelita rescues Sly from the monster, and the Cooper gang do all they can to get Sly's cane back, but Dr. M gets it. Yeah, remember him? So Sly gets it back, and then learns some info about Dr. M.
Just like your father.
You don't know anything about me or my father.
Really? Well, who let you in on the secret of this business, eh? Was it my old pal McSweeney, perhaps?
McSweeney works for you? This was all a setup to get the cane.
No, my boy. Once upon a time, he and I worked together for your dear old dad.
My father wouldn't have run with a guy who tried to steal from the Cooper Vault, let alone attempt to kill his son.
Time does strange things to people. Just look at the real leader of your gang, Bentley.
Whatever. We're friends. Equals.
Then why is it called the Cooper Gang, you self-centered egomaniac?
That's enough.
So with the cane in hand, Sly, Bentley, and Murray get into the vault. However, only Sly can go through it. But Dr. M and goons break in, and Bentley and Murray fight them off. Despite Dr. M's good arguments against Sly, Bentley and Murray will never leave his side. But Dr. M finds Sly, and the two fight, with Sly emerging the victor, only for Carmelita to bust in. Dr. M fires at her, and Sly gets in the way. Carmelita finishes off Dr. M and sees if Sly is okay, and he says he can't remember anything, and the two leave. And the rest of the gang gets away. And in the end, everyone gets a happy ending. Murray goes racing with monster trucks, Bentley lives happy with Penelope, and Sly lives happy with Carmelita. However, Bentley then finds Sly one day and learns that he's really truly faking the amnesia after all. It's a sad ending and a good ending at the same time. Sad because this is the end of our story, but good because all the characters get a happy ending. Kinda like a certain movie series that these games are certainly not thematically homaging to. And anyway, that's the story of Sly 3. If you couldn't tell, the story really isn't that impressive. I mean, I love the first chapter because Murray gets significant character development, as do Sly and Bentley. However, Chapter 2 is just completely uninteresting. Chapters 3 through 5 are good at best, but have a lot of elements I don't like, such as villains and length. Like, think about Dr. M for a second. In Sly 1, we constantly saw imagery of clockwork for the entire game, and then when we got to the final boss, the intensity was high. And like I mentioned in the last video, we saw Neela throughout the entire game, and she was a developed three-dimensional villain, making the build-up even stronger and the ending more dramatic. Whereas Dr. M appears once at the beginning, and the entire rest of the game he isn't brought up once. So while when he is on screen I really like him, but he doesn't get any build up. Neither does the Cooper Vault job. I mean, the game's story is so tangential that you just stop caring about it halfway through the game. The chapters in Sly 3 all feel very disjointed, and they just end up being one ends and then the next one begins. So basically, this game lacks the compelling feeling of Sly 1 and Sly 2, ultimately making this game feel kind of boring in a lot of instances. And I've been told this game is shorter than Sly 2, and that game was too long. However, this game is 9,550 megabytes, which is larger than Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, and is almost as large as Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Sly 2 is only about 6,600 megabytes, not even close. Completing a chapter in Sly 2 takes about 50 minutes, and Sly 3 is about an hour and a half to 2 hours each. I mean, by the end of the 4th chapter of Sly 2, the halfway point, I was 44% in, and by chapter 3 of Sly 3, I was at the halfway point, and I was only 22% in. And that's if you're just completing it. And don't anybody say I'm just better at Sly 2, because I have over 10 playthroughs of each game in my lifetime. I know all 3 backwards and forwards, so it's not just me. Anyway, the voice acting, I can't believe I didn't address this in my Sly 2 review, but the characters were all well done in that game, even better here, which complements their growth from 1 to 3. I mean, in Sly 1, Bentley was just the guy who gave information, and in Sly 2 he was on the field and was nervous, but eventually overcame his fears, leading to the ending. And in this game, he finds that the wheelchair only makes him stronger. Murray also goes from the guy who just drives the van to the muscle, but in this game learns that his role isn't just the muscle, but also the heart of the team as well. The presentation is also the best in the trilogy. I mean, I love the brighter color palette. It really makes the characters pop. And if I were to make any kind of analogy, it would be that Sly 1 is Super Smash Bros. Melee, Sly 2 is Brawl, and Sly 3 is Smash Wii U. This is also complemented by the amazing soundtrack. Peter McConnell really outdid himself here. So many catchy songs, so much variety, which is why Sly 3 has by far one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time. Up there with the likes of Mega Man X, or Mega Man X6, or X3, or X4, Sonic Unleashed, or Adventure, or Batman Arkham City. Overall, an okay plot, but fails in several areas. But again, since this is a video game, let's talk about the gameplay. If you break it down, the jump from Sly 2 to Sly 3 is nowhere near as large as the jump from Sly 1 to Sly 2. Basically, Sly plays the exact same as Sly did in Sly 2. He can still run on ropes, climb pipes, ninja spire jump, and can still pickpocket, and trust me, you'll be doing a lot of it in this game. Sly can also use disguises or sneak around in the open. However, I'm not a fan of this and try to avoid it as much as possible because you can only slow walk through the areas and have to input a secret code every single time a guard walks by. It's dumb and stupid and stupid and dumb. Murray as well controls the exact same as he did in Sly 2, only now I'd say he's not as strong because some enemies can be beaten in more than 2 hits, but still, he's still the power character. 2 new things would be that Murray can pickpocket, and the level design is easier to navigate as Murray due to his Dreamtime training. He can now utilize the aboriginal ball form to bounce to incredible heights, making the hubs more fun to explore as Murray. Bentley, despite being in a wheelchair, plays pretty much the exact same as he did in Sly 2. He can still use bombs and sleep darts, and can still hack computers, and I'll say I find these more fun to play than in Sly 2, because the gun does more damage, making it not go on for as long. Bentley can also pickpocket, and hubs are more fun to explore as him, because his wheelchair has a booster pack for more jump height. One thing that bothers me greatly about Sly 3 is the hazard room. This game has tutorials for all 3 characters, but for some reason they make you play a few right at the beginning of the game. And I'm going to agree with Kevin Savo on this one, and disagree for a few things. I agree that the 3rd game shouldn't have a forced tutorial at the beginning of the game, but I disagree that the tutorial is completely illogical. I mean, for a newcomer, maybe they want to play the tutorial. But I mean, they should have made it the best of both worlds and made it optional, which is what they do later in the game, so why not make it consistent for the entire game? Hub worlds are also the perfect size, with plenty of landmarks to distinguish one area from another. Clue bottles are also missing, but I can take them or leave them. Bentley's RC missions are replaced by Penelope, and these are tons of fun to play. And also, I'd say Sly 3 is the most memorable set pieces, like breaking into Octavio's house, a lemonade bar fight.
Listen up, dirtbags. Time to clear out. From now on, this bar is Cooper Gang turf.
Tough, took, wagga. but you ain't got no respect with us. We here are known around these parts for our drinking skills, and this just happens to be a lemonade bar.
Sly, I'm not sure this is such a good idea.
If a lemonade drinking challenge is what you had in mind, then the three of us will take on the best 3 lemonade drinkers you got.
Fair dinkum. Losers have to clear out.
Breaking into a hotel room in Chapter 3, or platforming in the sky in Chapter 4. It's all fun stuff. And if this is all Sly 3 had, and had a tighter story, it would have been the best game in the series. However, there are many things I don't like about Sly 3, making it the worst game in the trilogy. I already mentioned that the story is a thing I don't like about this game, but an extension of that would be that not as many missions matter to the plot overall, for the sake of having more missions, I guess. To be fair, most of them matter, a lot more than a lot of the missions in Jak 2 or Jak 3, so that's no big deal. One thing that is a big deal is this is easily the hardest game in the trilogy. I've gotten hit once by the smallest enemies and lost 1/4 of my health. The issue is shown off best in the Sly 2 mission where Murray fights off 50 enemies and it's really easy, and in Sly 3, Murray has to do something similar, but I got my ass kicked and died at least 4 fucking times. So while it's not that big of a deal, it's still the hardest game in the trilogy, like I said. And to combat this higher difficulty is where the returning shot mechanic comes into play. Basically, in Sly 3, there are much more upgrades that are must-buys in this game. For Sly, there's the smoke bomb, the rocket shoes, the paraglider, the silent obliteration, and most importantly would be the cane upgrades, the spin attack, the push attack, and the jump attack. These make fighting as Sly easier. Another great power-up with the shadow power, for Sly to go completely invisible. And these get quite expensive as the game goes on. And that also includes Bentley's must-have upgrades like the Adrenaline Burst and the Booster Pack and the Grapple Cam. Since Murray has the Atlas Strength at default in Sly 3, that means Murray has no must-buy upgrades in this game. So the money problem is no big deal, because I can just steal fine art and get an easy 300 coins, right? Wrong. In Sly 3, there's no treasure to find, meaning the easiest way to get coins is by pickpocketing, where max I've ever gotten would be 130 coins. And when shit costs like 1,000 or some coins a piece, it can take forever to buy everything you need because you will be grinding for so damn long. The easy 700 coin grind spot is at the end of the game when you get a pirate ship or out of the ocean. However, in most playthroughs I spend at least an hour grinding here. But since I evenly distributed my grinding throughout the whole game, I only spent like 12 minutes on it. And by the way, these ships control like ass, shit turning and shit speed. One common praise for Sly 3 would be that the gameplay is diverse. And nothing more to follow up that statement. This bothers me because a game having diverse gameplay doesn't make it good. A perfect example would be Sonic 06, a game with 16 styles of gameplay, and by this logic, that is one of the greatest games of all time. No! That game's a piece of shit and nearly killed an entire franchise and also made all critics just hate the franchise no matter how good or bad the game actually is. And is considered one of the worst games of all time. And if you want a more recent example, Batman Arkham Knight is just like Sly 3, and how it refines the best aspects of the previous entries, but has a lackluster story and a forced gimmick, aka the Batmobile. Really did make the game the worst of the series. Not a bad game in general, just really disappointing. Anyway, Carmelita is now playable, and she jumps and shoots. It's pretty basic, but it's alright. The Guru is the first new character in Sly 3, and he is lame to play as. I mean, he can't attack, which fits his peaceful theme. However, this means that he has to transform into objects in the environment to hide, but since the transformations take so long, it leaves the Guru incredibly defenseless. And he can also mind control unsuspecting guards to ram into things, but that's really all I can say about the Guru. I don't like him. Anyway, in Chapter 3 we also get a biplane, and it's alright. Although again, it's not very necessary to the game, but I'm fine with it in single player. The Panda King does great things for the plot, however he's definitely not fun to play as. I mean, his gameplay just consists of aiming and shooting. I know a lot of games get broken down that way, but I meant that literally. The Panda King does nothing other than aim and shoot. No ninja moves or fireballs in the Sly 1 boss, or the Sly 3 flashback of said boss. So yeah, Dimitri is our last playable character in the Team Diver. He's alright in his first mission, and I love the creepy atmosphere because of all the sharks around you, and it's pretty fun. However, his second mission is a complete stress test, with shit flying on screen from nowhere and needing a split-second reaction time. And there are other gimmick moments too, but I feel as if they aren't significant enough to get discussed, so with that I think the gameplay is pretty much covered. The boss fights are pretty good, on par with Sly 2 I'd say. Hell, even though I hate the chapter, the first phase of General Tso's boss is pretty awesome, and as is the fight with Octavio. And I guess that just leaves us with the post-game. Once each chapter is complete, you can play through all the missions again, although like I said last time, this really means nothing to me. But the real point of interest is how you can do the Master Thief trials to get 100% completion. You have to beat them all, and these are extremely shallow things like do this mission with less health, or with a time limit, or both, or kill this many enemies. It's so dull. However, like I said with the clue bottles last time, you don't have to do it, so it's not really a big deal. Or I'm telling you right now, 100%ing Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves is something I will never do again. Rewards for this are bonus movies like the Goodbye My Sweet animation, which I really enjoy, the evolution of Sly, where we see the scrapped ideas for Sly 1 and 2, we also see Sly's original stand-in voice acting.
My new climb.
But the worst part is how 100%ing this game gives you this. Yeah, that was totally worth the 2 hours wasted. And if you thought the gimmicks were done, then there's where you're wrong. Sly 3 was released in 2005, and at this point Red and Blue 3D was in, so they shoved that in the manual and you put it in for a few missions. And from what I've heard, it kills the frame rate, so no thanks. However, the HD collection gives all three full 3D, however by 2010 nobody gave a shit about 3D anymore. Sly 3 also tried a multiplayer. I'm guessing because the previous year Ratchet & Clank 3 had an online multiplayer that tons of people liked. However, I'm personally not much of a fan of it, but it beats the multiplayer in this game for sure. First we have Cops and Robbers, where you play as Sly and Carmelita, and it's okay, just beat the crap out of each other. Or you could just steal treasures, but who cares. Then there's Hackatron, which involves either Sly and Bentley or Bentley and Penelope, depending on how far you are in the game. It's basically the hacking from the main game, however you beat a shitload of enemies in order to progress, and you only have 20 shared lives, where one hit equals 1/4 of your health gone. Next up is Biplane Duel, which sucks because it's nearly impossible to make accurate shots in this mode. Last is the Pirate Battle, which is the same crap from the main game. But what kills the multiplayer for me is the small screen and the frame rate, which the HD collection did not fix, by the way. Speaking of which, in 2010, Sanzaro Games released a Sly Cooper HD collection on PS3. In 2011, they released each game individually digitally. The best part about it is how the improved resolution, and it looks great in my opinion. However, what I don't like is the rest of it. Firstly, the collection comes with crappy PlayStation Move minigames, but I no longer own that crap, so I can't show it off. And what's really problematic here is the audio. Some songs play in the wrong places in Sly 1, some songs have half the beats missing in Sly 2, and in some parts of Sly 3 there is no music. Also, in the digital version of Sly 2, the audio is really messed up for some reason. All dialogue starts out really quiet and then gets back to its regular volume, and it bugs me.
Inspector Fox, as beautiful and unpredictable as ever.
Whereas you crooks are so predictable. You always return to the scene of the crime.
Crime? I haven't stolen anything. Yet.
Oh, really? Then who broke in last night and made off with all the clockwork parts? You've got the motive.
Someone already stole the parts?
Don't play dumb with me.
Inspector Fox, as beautiful and unpredictable as ever.
Whereas you crooks are so predictable. You always return to the scene of the crime.
Crime? I haven't stolen anything. Yet.
Really? Then who broke in last night and made off with all the clockwork parts? You've got the motive.
Someone already stole the parts?
Don't play dumb with me.
And what really bothers me is the fact that Sly 1 and 2 are missing content. Sly 1 has no designer's commentary, making the time trials worthless, and Sly 2 has no bonus movies. And the lighting has also been changed for the worse in my opinion. Like whenever someone is in a silhouette, they're now colored in. And also the aspect ratio isn't properly done for modern day TVs, and that also bugs me. So if you don't care about these things, then by all means play the HD collection, but if you do, play the PS2 originals. It bugs me how people can act like Ratchet's helmet being bigger than his head and the PS3 Ratchet collection makes that a disgrace to the PS2 classics, when that's very minor and only happens in cutscenes, and yet love this with cutout content and shit. Then comes the PlayStation Vita version, which is better than the other re-releases, but suffers from 3 notable things. 1. The Vita's analog sticks are very slippery, leading to the games being harder to control. 2. The Vita's front and back touchpads are crap and barely work. And 3. In Sly 2 and Sly 3, with less buttons on the Vita, that means we only have 1 item button as opposed to 3. Other than that, it's a decent handheld port. But overall, what's my opinion on Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves? I think this game is good. It refines a lot of aspects, but I still think the problems I addressed are enough to say that Sly 3 is the worst game in the trilogy by far. Whereas Sly 1 and 2 are great games, I feel as if Sly 3 being just good is a little disappointing, to be honest. And with that, we finally reached the end of this PS2 Sly Cooper marathon, and you know, I like to say that I have these long videos that are analyses of the Sly Cooper trilogy, but I'm glad it's done, and I'm ready to move on to something new. So overall, I can't say I've ever played a trilogy of games that have made me feel the same way as these ones do. These have great stories, memorable characters, and great gameplay that'll stick with me forever. And you know, while I do think that Sly 3 has problems that I can't get over, it certainly isn't a bad game by any means, and I would definitely recommend you play it. So with that said, this has been Jay of Jay's Reviews, signing.